So this is a Kal Kat, the Calcaster, and this is a review of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since the last one of the train thing at the end, the big finish. This one has a biplane big finish, which they kind of gave away in the trailer. This one also has various death-defying things where Tom Cruise is mainly the main character in a lot of these pieces because it's him, but in like there are whole scenes where it's just him rummaging around, submarine or him playing. There's the other characters are present but peripheral. There aren't as many jokes. Although in terms of so is the cinematography, I was complaining about the filming, is the cinematography off in the movie? I would say no, actually. Whoever filmed this knew how to frame the cinematography. So they knew how to frame this. So they were paying attention. At times there were a few things, but I think they were trying to be artsy. And when they did have a character that was from one side or the other, they were in focus, so that focus was on them. So that worked. If it's an action movie, and you want to, yeah. Anyway, the Mission Impossible film. It's I like the lighting just because the power's out on the set. The power's completely out on the set. There was an outage. But yeah, we're gonna keep going with this. The battery, because there's not. Oh, I mean, it was good. It was an okay movie. It was action and stuff. The audience was invested, but more shock and awe kind of invested. They weren't laughing at scenes where you're supposed to laugh. They weren't. That was a packed house. They weren't necessarily like making quirks. I tried to make some, but it was like, no, they fell flat because it wasn't that kind of an audience. So you had your basic plot is they tried to get this computer virus that's taking over the world, which has apparently made itself a cult. They're copying Masters of the Universe, the Kevin Smith movie. They end with a cult in it. But they're not, because they probably haven't seen that. And they're really, really hard copying War Games, which was an 80s movie where a kid steals a thing, and 80s War Games movie. The power's going to come back on. But I'm going to keep doing the review, just like this. War Games. The kid steals a computer code by accident and almost sets off a nuclear war because the computer wants to play war games. That's kind of what's going on here. It's kind of a similar plot. They also, because this was probably written 3 years ago or so, they're also, let's make the president look like Kamala Harris. It'll be fine. It's not, but I don't think that's what they did. She kind of looks like Kamala Harris. You have nuclear bait and switch. You have the old the timer ticking down thing 3 or 4 different times, where if you actually counted the timer ticking down thing, which is a cliche, they would have been dead. Like boom, gone. Just several times in this movie. There's okay, the way it's intercut, they would have been gone. I'm not sure why certain things happened, but that's probably because they aren't either, and they're just making an action movie. And you can kind of check your brain at the door with a Mission Impossible action movie. So there are probably fans out there that explore the whole lore, but I don't see any point in doing that because it's kind of it's all over the place. Check your brain out the door because there are scenes in that they try to be realistic and they're not. Well, the first thing that happens is you have the bad guy that they're after, who traps them. Spoiler review for plot points, I guess. The bad guy traps the Tom Cruise and the girl. On an earlier Reddit post thing that I read earlier, but did not see the movie, just some of the Reddit people complaining about it, the alien, and what happens. One of them had the odd idea that somehow the girl was going to be revealed to be related to Tom Cruise's character, and I did not get that from the first movie. That I don't know where that person was getting that from. That was not a relative at all. It was not a relative. Yeah, so the power is back on. But I'm going to keep doing the review. And so we have, because it could go back off again at any point. So we have a virtual reality bad guy who wants to blow up the world in 3 days. If you added up all the hours and times and minutes in the story, it takes place over a week. So that 3 days makes no sense. They're at DEFCON 3 already. Ooh. And that's not how that works, but okay, fine. The red phone is brown now, or black color. The story is all dependent on an extreme coincidence. The idea that the Russians built a device mimicking a device from 30 years earlier, that the God sent, the other device. And they built the device and put it on the submarine and took it out to the Arctic Circle. And then it got sunk somehow. And then some of them floated up to the surface afterward, and on them was these two keys, these cruciform keys. It's all symbolic. It's like biblical stuff in there that they throw in, and they keep raising Revelation and stuff like that. I think in the original script for the story was called Dead Reckoning Part 2 and had nothing to do with throwing in Revelation stuff and all that. It was probably just War Games, but updated. That's probably all it was originally. But they wanted to add all that stuff in there, and it doesn't work. It plays like a Scientology video. It really doesn't work, the Revelation stuff in the story. The movie works, but it is written, it's not written, and this goes and that goes, and it's the Revelation. It wants to bring about the end of the world, and Noah's Ark is mentioned because there's a bunker, and they're going to go down in the bunker. So Noah's Ark exists in this universe, and they have a black president who really, really wants to blow up the world, but then decides not to. So you have but yeah, you have that's fine. But some of the trouble with these movies, like the last one, and this one's a sequel to, is that having the AI then talk to Tom Cruise through the device. He gets inside the device and you will be changed. You'll be different, or whatever. Zap and nothing happens. Doesn't change anything. But yes, of course, because he has engrams in his mind. If he's not a Scientologist anymore, he certainly is acting like one. Yes, and a number of other things. But he's not gay. He's bi. South Park was wrong. He's bi. He has occasionally been married and had a wife and kids and stuff, and occasionally, but he's got that. They played along with that, or a lady on the submarine who is he borrows her suit because he's short. But that's a space diving suit. But it's like everybody that joke didn't work because everybody on the submarine would be short. Nobody's over 5'8" on the submarine. It's too small. It's a submarine. Yeah, you're all going to be short. There's not going to be anybody tall on a sub, so that doesn't work. I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis that has command of the George Bush. I'm assuming George Bush Sr. is what the ship's named after, not Junior, but Senior. And the submarine is the Iowa. And there were no Kal Kat references, or if there were, they were real brief. It is Paramount Skydance after all. There were not really, unless there was a transformer in the background somewhere or something like that. I might have not caught it. But, well, it is an AI trying to take over. So in that sense, that's the idea. It's maybe that's a cybernetic creature, internet taking over. It's literally a YouTube influencer. That's the joke. Sure. Yeah. But the ticket was cheap enough. Anyway, so $7. But yes, yeah. So you have your Ethan Hunt's character gets inside after they escape the bad guy, who explains the entire plot of the story, because he feels he has to espouse the plot of the story and his evil plan. And that you will, we're going to meet up later, and you're going to help me because I want to take over the entity and control it. Well, you want to destroy it. The classic Cobra Commander and Toxo thing from the 1990s. And they do reference 1996 at one point. They do go back to, but not G.I. Joe, to something else in 1996. I'm assuming they're referencing one of the first, well, not the first movies, but the first movies in that series. 1996, 30 years ago, roughly 28 years ago, 29 years ago, and they're probably referencing that because the other guy is the son of this other guy, and it has something to do with that. Doesn't matter. They're disposable. They're out there. Even when they decide to become friends or something, it doesn't really. Yeah, the choices in it just are a little odd. The character stuff is a little odd, but not the cinematography. Whoever filmed this was paying attention, really, really close attention to all the visuals and getting everybody in the shot. Even if they had Dutch angles, they did them right. You can tell a sloppy Dutch angle from a good Dutch angle. But the plane scene is nuts and spectacular. The diving scene is nuts and spectacular. It goes on a little too long, but it's nuts. So so you think right away, because he went into the computer pod. You think right away, oh, this is going to be stupid. They're gonna pull a bait and switch, and at the end of this, he's in the simulation the whole time. They're gonna do that, aren't they? That would be really dumb. And the entire audience was like thinking this. They're gonna do that. They didn't, thankfully. Maybe there's another version of this movie where they did, and they had to rewrite it. And they said, don't do the dream ending. Yeah. That would be really bad. It was a simulation. It was a war game. Don't do that. Yeah. So they took some Kal Kat movie writing advice. They said, don't do the dream ending. Don't have it be that the creature's not really defeated. They just held it somewhere. Well, they do held it somewhere, so that's part of it. But yes, so we have a story trying to be a finale, and you just know from watching many old horror movies back in the day, and some series, whenever they put final in a title or end in a title, mostly final, it never is. The Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Halloween, the final chapter. They go to hell, or what's that? The final record. You just know if this movie makes money, there's going to be more of them. This is not an ending. I know Tom Cruise is over 60; it'd be hard for him to do the stunts anymore. But come on, guys. You know you're going to make more. Stop with this final stuff. They should have gone with Dead Reckoning Part 2. Just because, and then they had to reference the new movie several times, so there were people in the theater going, title drop. That was good. They were doing that. That was funny. Title drop. They felt like they had to tell the audience, this is the last one. Knowing full well, no, it isn't. They're going to make more. They're going to make more. It'll probably be somebody else other than Tom Cruise, but they'll make more of them. It's not going to be Simon Pegg in the lead. And I could have sworn that several movies ago they killed the black guy. And he shows up in these two movies, and I'm like, didn't they kill that character? I would have sworn they killed that guy and Simon Pegg's character. They died before, and they're just back. So I wouldn't find it sketch if they did another one and they said, "Oh, he's alive." Psst. Yeah, he escaped the explosion. I just didn't want to mention it. But no, this movie seems to imply that there's a lot of voiceovers in it. They felt compelled to tell the audience voiceovers in it. I guess because they thought, oh, this doesn't make as much sense. I need to explain it to you. They didn't really need to do that. I think it's more poignant not to do that, especially not having the villain say his entire plan within the first 10 minutes, and then knowing, okay, that's what they're going to do. They're going to trick the bad guy somehow near the end. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. No. The trick to tricking somebody at the end in a thriller movie like this is you make them think something else is going on. Like The Usual Suspects is a classic example in film school kind of thing. You have to set up the whole thing until everything goes to an ending. Seven, another example. And then at the end it reveals, oh, that's the twist. That's what's going on. Shyamalan, he wouldn't know what to do with a twist. He'd make the twist wrong and it wouldn't make sense. Except for The Sixth Sense, where everybody was fooled, except for a few of us who were not fooled. That actually had a good ending. If you weren't paying attention to the opening scenes, you didn't get that movie. But I was paying attention. I was like, anyway, so yeah, he's a ghost. Yeah. But the Tom Cruise movie, I was wondering if they were going to pull a bait and switch like that and say like it was a simulation, the whole thing. They didn't do that because I said don't do that last time I reviewed the other movie. So it was like, don't have it be a simulation at the end. Don't do that. No. So you have our heroes going to different places and going to get. They're going to go to the coordinates, and they do their several things. They talk to the president at one point. She's going to either blow up the world or not in just a few days. Everybody else wants the creature has activated the nuclear arsenals or has hacked into them somehow, and they can't just unplug them. Yeah, why can't they unplug them? Why can't they just take the plugs out of the wall and just turn it off? I never figured that, did they? Oh, it's inside the system. It's getting in there. Okay, the reactors are still up, but if we unplug the stuff that isn't the reactors, yeah, your bad guy can't get in. It's a firewall, literally a firewall. Yeah, that's not how that stuff works. But Hollywood thinks that's how that works. So, surge protector, basically. Pull out of the wall. Of course, then the movie would be over in the first 10 minutes, but yeah, you have but yeah, you've got the homoerotic obvious thing with the black guy and the character of Ethan there. But then he dies early on, the black guy dies. But you figure he died 3 other times in 3 other movies, so maybe he'll come back. Who knows? And they had lots of voiceovers by him. So many in the audience said, why does the black guy always die in the first half of the movie? Oh, but yes. Then they have another one. They have a president lady. Kamala Harris or something. Yeah. But then you have, the Bush is commanded by Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis. And they have the black guy commanding the submarine, who's probably too tall to fit on a submarine. But that's fine. You mentioned the Russian aircraft carrier, which is in the wrong ocean. The one Russian aircraft carrier they have is Atlantic carrier. It can't go into the Pacific really, and it couldn't be there. But okay, fine, it's a movie. Maybe they figured out how to do it somehow. They don't come after them. They go to a lair up north, and they meet this guy who's been up there since the 90s. The guy from not Ghost Protocol, but way back when, and he's in there, and he's been there with his Inuit wife forever, and and he has the codes. And the Russians, I guess the Ruskies come there to try and get the codes from the guy. And it's in his head after all these years of the code. And I got to build this hard drive thing. And Peg's character got to build the hard drive. While they go to the device, while Cruz is on the submarine and gonna use the diving suit, and they explain all about that. And there's like several shots of him without his shirt on, all buffed, which I'm sure was enhanced by CGI. It had to be a little bit enhanced. I think it was, because there was an awful lot of animators on there. The Russian sub is somehow spotted using the tech. They've got to get him back up to the surface, or he'll hit the bends and he'll die. And they've got a portable, inflatable device, air pressure device, which wouldn't work. It's a balloon. But, okay. It's cold. Oh, no. At one point we have him, superhuman powers. Now, in the show, Mission Impossible, they didn't have superhuman powers. They just had clever gadgets and stuff. They were like James Bond kind of guys. He jumps into the Arctic Ocean to go to the submarine. Let's rescue the submarine. To go on the American submarine. Into the Arctic Ocean. Into the So he dives down to where the submarine is. They let him in. And he's practically in his skivvies. What? No. He would be very dead. Immediately. Very, very, very dead. Very frozen. Solid. It's ice. It's ice water. It's not warm. It's icy. That was suspending disbelief beyond. And then it goes steps beyond that. They get to the submarine and he's in there. And they cut to other ticking time going off things. There's another bomb somewhere else. The Inuit people and the Inuit lady and the dog and the guy and the Russians are in there, and they have him, but then they're like, oh, the guy's going to write the message on the paper, and then we'll beat up the two bad guys and escape. Well, that would only be dependent on if you could escape. The coincidences are amazing. It's like, if you really think they're going to let you leave with written on a piece of paper, and then send code later on to the ship? They're going to send a code in Morse code. That somehow the AI wouldn't be able to read that, even though it's like, it would. But yes, and then it'd be able to read that. And it would determine the coordinates were wrong and stuff. And the Russians would also, they're not dumb. They'd be like, wait a minute, this is like the African code. It's like the other side of the world, and that's where it is up here. It's like, they would figure that out as soon as the audience figured that out. They would be monitoring. It'd be like, wait a minute. Unless they were literally the dumbest submarine crew in the universe. There was a submarine as well. It was chasing them. Yeah. There was also an aircraft carrier. And it was chasing them. And there were fight scenes that ended without any resolution with ospreys and fighters and stuff. You think they would have blown up the ospreys? It's like no. They wouldn't have. Yeah. Doesn't make sense. So they have the diving suit thing with the joke, and the girls, you're riding the girl's suit, funny. But yeah, it's like, and there's a bad guy who's on the submarine. He fights him when he's training. Why do we have a training montage where he's training? They don't need that in there. Why is that in there? Just so you can have a knife fight later? It's like, why? For the girl. This is another girl, by the way. This is the one that's on the submarine. Mexican girl. That's from hits the bad guy over the head. Waits long enough for them to have the knife fight, and then shows up, and just in time to bonk the bad guy in the head. Yes. And then he goes to the Russian sunken Russian sub, where he can find the device. It's a kill switch. They keep calling it different things, but it's a kill switch. That's what the term is. It's a kill switch. They don't call it that, but that's what it is in computer terms. They're gonna bring the kill switch back up after they've turned on the key, and they're gonna trap the entity inside the fake thing they built. They built a quantum thing. They filament, a glowy thing. They're gonna trick him into going to the sort of underground South African arc base thing where they keep all the human knowledge that allegedly exists. And if there was a place like that down there, and I think there are places like that. So Hollywood's basing that kind of on something, but somebody would screw that up, like early on. It wouldn't be anything in there. Look at the Library of Alexandria; it's gone. So it's going to be the same thing. It's like, oh, it saved the repository of human knowledge from the 21st century. Like 30 years later, somebody like accidentally bombs it. 30%. Close it up. So yeah, that's probably what happened. Yeah, so they're going to try to trap the computer virus, and the computer virus is aware of itself, and will be aware of such a really, really obvious trick. So it's going to hide itself in the repository in South Africa. Their plan is to dump it into the fake one while it's not looking. The blink of an eye. Really, the script is called In the Blink of an Eye. What's the script? And yeah, that was the name of it. It's based on a book. I'm sure they kept mentioning it over and over again. Final Reckoning in Blink of an Eye. I think it was a book, a couple of books, and they're just referencing book titles. They also make a reference to a Star Trek episode in there, and War Games. Yeah, they made a reference of a couple of Star Trek episodes. That's cool. But yes, the Doomsday weapon is going to activate and kill everybody, and there's 30 minutes on the clock, and the universe, America will launch its arsenal or some of its arsenal at itself for some unknown reason, just a collateral damage. Well, sure, why not? As a gesture of goodwill. What? Doesn't make any sense. That's what they did. So they didn't actually do it. They'd stop at the last second. Meanwhile, there's 30 minutes. They have like 30 minutes on this thing. The Simon Pegg character got shot. They have to do this like surgery thing on the Simon Pegg character. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. They kept intercutting back and forth. The other scene I didn't resolve the other scene. So they have the other scene with the submarine, where he leaves the submarine, and he goes up. It's kind of all over the place. And he goes up he finds a way into the torpedo tube, but he can't fit in it. So he gets out of the suit. Mind you, this submarine has been at the bottom of the ocean. For some reason, it has some air in it. It wasn't crushed. If there's a way inside, you're under crushing pressures under the water. The entire weight of the sea is up there. Yeah, how would that thing have been intact? It would have been destroyed. There would have been nothing left of it. He would have floated up to a wreck sitting on a mountain. It's gone. Why would it be intact? It really, really would not have been intact. It's been down there since, I guess, for 10 years. There was, a couple of years ago, there was a rich guy who built a submersible vehicle, well, improperly. And him and 6 others went down in the submersible vehicle to go see the Titanic. The Sea Gate, the Ocean Gate. It was destroyed immediately upon reaching depth because the seals were glued together very poorly, and it went, and they were destroyed. They were crushed like a tin can, and blown out the back when the seal popped off. They all died. So, if this is like a submarine thing, in reality, the Russians built it. It might be strong and everything, but still, crushing depth of a metal object down there, that far down, it would have been debris. It would have been flotsam. There wouldn't have been a submarine. There would have been pieces of a submarine all over the ocean floor. In the Arctic doesn't... How did the bad guy commander, the Russian commander guy from the ship, go up to the surface with the keys to become frozen dead so that the Inuits found him? Was that the same Inuit lady that found him? It kind of makes sense, but they didn't imply that. It was a different place. Yeah, how did they get up to the surface? How did they have the keys? How did they know what that is? And where did the bad guy computer get it? Yeah, so the more you pick this apart, the more it makes no sense. So that ship would have been destroyed. That sub would have been decimated. It would have been not just crushed, but in pieces all over the place. Because, the Russian submarine vehicle, built very strong, both with gum and chewing gum and baling wire. Yes, it would not survive depth. It would be destroyed. Yes. There would be pieces of it all over the... Anyway, so there would be pieces of it everywhere. And the bad guys don't come after him. He's down underwater. I'm assuming they did this diving scene, and they did it like at the... If they weren't that far down, it still wouldn't make sense. Because it was like on a shelf and it was rolling while he's inside it, and trying to make it look scarier because he's just kind of... Because the actual scene is him just looking around in rooms with some atmosphere in the room and some not. Some water coming through, some not. Because they didn't want to kill the actor. But yeah, why was there air down atmosphere? Why was there air down there? I wouldn't have. He didn't take his helmet off until... Well, he still kept the helmet on until he tried to get into the torpedo tube. He had to take the rest of the suit off, though. The torpedo tube. This is the Arctic Ocean. It's freezing. It's frozen water. It's like freezing. He'd be so dead. He comes up to the surface and gets rescued by that balloon tent that they put up there. He hallucinates while he's getting rescued that the diver girl rescued him and is kissing him. But no, it's the other girl giving him mouth to mouth. Well, unless she was giving him mouth to mouth with tongue. Yeah, it's funny that one of the Reddit people was and they kind of make it an erotic scene too, which is weird in the movie. Some of the Reddit persons were like, "Is it's going to be revealed to be his daughter or something, or his sister or something?" Or like, I didn't think they were going to do that. It's just a girlfriend, love interest. I think what they were misreading that Tom Cruise was trying so hard to be straight that he's bi, but he was trying so hard to be straight that they were misreading the room. They were reading like, he doesn't like this girl. They get on each other's nerves, but that's actually an attraction. But they're going to reveal they're not attracted because they're siblings. Yeah, I get what they were doing. What they were thinking but that wasn't going to happen because no, this was just I'm not attracted to you because you're a girl. That's what it was. Exactly. That's what it was. Oh my. Because you're too abrasive. I just don't want you. And you're a girl. Yeah, you don't have the package done. Maybe she did. That'd be funny. She's like, well, actually, MI6 has enhanced my. Yes, I have a willy. Then he would be interested. He'd be like, well, I didn't realize. That's right. Psst. But he was in Top Gun Maverick, so there you go. But yeah, there always has to be the hot girl. And Top Gun Maverick missed the opportunity to cast the actual original actress from Top Gun Maverick in there. And they didn't do it. Because she's like matronly and has gained about 80, 90 pounds since then. And doesn't look like that character anymore. Top Gun Maverick should have cast her anyway. And said, look, he still loves her even though she looks matronly. And he's hot. Yeah. They should have done that. They should have gone there. But they did not. So it has to be the hot girl. It was never going to be the French girl with the blonde hair. She wasn't going to be anybody either. She's going to be with Simon Pegg later on. The weird lung operation scene. Yeah, so they get rescued. He gets rescued. There's flashbacks back and forth. They got to go to that South African base thing. And they got to disarm a nuke that's there too. And the bad guys are there, and the bad guy takes off with the device, the thing. He's got it. Tom Cruise got to go after him. They don't, and then they do the biplane scene. While the biplane scene happens, while the other ones are trying to disarm a bomb, and Simon Pegg has a collapsed lung, and he's going to do a triage operation on him. That would have killed him. And no blood on the lung anywhere, interestingly enough. Yeah. Or the gore. Wouldn't his lung be spurting like purple blood everywhere? Lung blood everywhere. Because oxygenated blood would be darker red. Wouldn't that be everywhere? Like, at the bullet hole. Just saying. But yes, so she cut out the bullet, I guess, which would have punctured his lung even more. And then closed the wound. Huh? Okay, yeah, that medically is not possible. But in movies, somebody always gets shot in the shoulder or in the chest. They're fine. At the last second, the blink of an eye, which they keep mentioning over and over and over again. Just so you know, blink of an eye. Because of the book. It's loosely based on a spy book called Blink of an Eye. I'm sure that's got to be where they're getting that from. It's got to be why they keep mentioning it. To pay homage to the director, or the person who wrote the book, the author. Oh, it's also a cliched term. I'm blinking. Millisecond. So yeah, you have and they trap the thing at the last minute. World War III is aborted in there inside the thing, and then the little case has the other thing, and you have you have an awesome aerial stunt show thing. Although it strangely doesn't fit in this kind of a movie. Why is there so much emphasis on the aerial stunt scene? I realize it's the first scene they filmed for the movie, but it gets to the point of like it's Snoopy and the Red Baron, like ridiculous flying around, and it's like okay, well, crossed with almost like the acrobatics is over the top to the point that it's kind of like, okay, that's scary. Well, obviously it's not at this point. He managed to climb back into the plane. Oh, now he's going to be out on the edge of it. Oh, it's coming apart. He's got to go to the other plane. It's like, if this was the suspension of disbelief, yes, but yeah, that just doesn't. I guess since he can survive explosive decompression after going to a submarine thing in Arctic waters, then I guess he can also survive dangling from an airplane, a biplane. That's easy peasy, up in high altitude area. And how did he get back down without a parachute? They reveal, there's a chute behind him. Where'd that come from? He just had it. And what they don't do, they should have done, is they should have destroyed the bad guy computer virus thing. For some reason, they wanted to do the Star Trek ending. There was a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode in which Professor Moriarty, the program, tries to take over the Enterprise using the holodeck and tracks the crew on the holodeck. And in order to trick him, the crew on the outside of the holodeck figures if we set up a device to trap Moriarty, we can put him in the device and he'll just be there forever. It's the plot of the story. But that's how they catch the bad guy. They trick him into going into the simulation forever. And he's in the little cube. A little glowing yellow cube at the end. They borrowed this from a Star Trek episode. It might have been called Blink of an Eye. No, that was the other one. There was a Wink of an Eye, too. That was an episode of Star Trek, the classic series. There was Eye of the Beholder in Next Generation, but that was a different one. That had an AI in it, too. But yeah, there's a couple of those like that. AI is, I guess, it's not really a ripoff. It's it's not a ripoff. It's just that they wanted to do something like that. It's perfectly fine. And it looks like we have power now. That's nice. So this has been my review of Mission Impossible, Final Dead Reckoning Part 2. You know it's not going to be the final one. Come on. He's not going to do another one. And you know what doesn't make sense either about the Mission Impossible idea, at least in these later movies, is what happened if you failed the mission? Or what would happen if you just didn't want to do the mission at all? It was like a Ghost Protocol thing, but you just said, this mission to save the entire planet is based on on you have to do all this crazy coincidental stuff and stop this bad guy in distant countries and then fly back and then stop this other guy. What if you just said, you know what? How about I just take a vacation to that place and not finish the mission? And no one will know because you guys aren't going to reveal who your spies are. And I'm just going to go hang out and fuck your mission. Yes, a narcissist version of Tom Cruise would be a completely different movie. I have an idea who they can get to play her, though. Helena Bonham Carter. There's your plot of Mission Impossible, the reboot. Helena Bonham Carter is the action star. Nah, she wouldn't do it. Maybe that lady from White Girl from Wednesday. She'd be your sidekick. She's like, what? Gina Davis, Helena Bonham Carter, in Mission Impossible, the girl version. I'm sure John Lasseter over there at Skydance would like that idea. Although they did fire him from Pixar, so yeah, that's not good. That he's kind of weird. Yeah, don't hang out with that guy. Unless you're a dude. Maybe if you're a dude, you'll be all right. But lady, don't hang out with that. But yes, oh my. But yes, Tom Cruise is weird enough in person that. Maybe he had to do with more running in this one, so he could run fast. But around 1994, 95, 96 or so, when they were making Mad City, I saw Tom Cruise, Mark's Cards, and I saw Tom Cruise at our college, San Jose State. They were next door. They were filming a movie, Mad City, and we got to see him run in place. So we Tom Cruise, awesome, in the 90s. So yeah, he said hi to the audience, and then we all left. After he ran dramatically, literally across the street. How far he's come since running dramatically across the street in the 90s. Anyway, so yes. It would have been funny if they said like the city that they were going to nuke as collateral damage was San Jose. I would have laughed. That would have been funny. That somebody said it too. What if it's San Jose? That would have been good. That would have been a reference to Mad City. That would have been funny. It was one of his other movies. But yes, so maybe it's a Kal Kat ending was just everywhere. Yeah, that wasn't a Kal Kat ending really. I guess the idea of the creature like at the end in the box is kind of a Kal Kat ending, but he can't take credit for that because that was Rick Berman and Ron Moore and those guys over there, Next Generation, wrote that one. I didn't write that one. I had nothing to do with that episode. That was not my idea, yeah. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, will likely not be the final reckoning after all. Because did Noah's Ark parables brought up in there. Oh, the Noah's Ark, the last survivors, whatever. They're pointing out the illogic of that being that. Okay, it's not Noah's Ark because if he nukes the entire planet and there are no humans left, who's going to go inside the Ark? Anyways.